Salofalava, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Susana Swiswiki. Coming up,
Stories that my nana told me about having a hideout culture and everything at school back in Fiji, so I thought I'd be able to have the opportunity to embrace it.
Polyfest comes alive with cultural performances. Also,
the most friendly thing that we could do is that we could offer experts to go out there and give advice.
New Zealand's concerns over Cook Island's shipping registry, and
the story tells us that he was injected with the poison and that's how he died.
we take a look at the man that's about to be PNG's first saint. The 50th ASB Polyfest kicked off this week at Manukau Sports Bowl, celebrating half a century of Polynesian culture. Over the next few days, more than 11,000 students from 77 schools will perform across 6 stages: Māori, Cook Islands, Niue, Samoan, Tongan and diversity. These performances will showcase a blend of traditional and modern styles. Grace Fever I was there and has this report.
The diversity stage, which opened the festival, showcased a variety of cultural acts from other ethnic communities, including Chinese, Indian, Korean and many others. Attendees enjoyed traditional performances, Pacific food stalls and arts and crafts. For the first time, Barradine College has entered a Fijian group, where a Fijian student, Mali, wanted her culture to be represented.
I kind of just wanted to be able to express my culture and stories that my nana told me about having a hideout culture and everything at school back in Fiji, so I thought I'd be able to have the opportunity to embrace it for Polyfest.
The speech competitions also began today, with Kristen College attending for the first time.
Posture and poses, emotional expression, storytelling.
Salan Dima was the only student representing his school among 3 to 4 other representatives from various schools. His speech was based on maintaining Ngana Samoa, or the Samoan language, in a country away from home.
It's on the legacy of our Samoan people and how we can connect to it despite being away from our land. The Samoan translation of it is "Be whape whea ona o wola ma whaatinoa o mea sina tū whaasolo mo se manuia mo atai au," which is how could I connect to my legacy, my identity and my culture.
Many individuals have come not only for the performances but also for the food. A Tongan worker says that if you're looking for something different to try, make sure to sample loi hosi, or the shredded horse dish.
So loi hosi, they have it with manioke, so you need to try that. It's got a bit of a tangy taste, but also just try, if you're kind of sensitive around it, just think beef.
Polyfest director Sayuli Terry Leo Mau'u says it's about the legacy.
It's one of those feelings where you almost feel like an excited parent, coming to see your kid on stage. And so we were just really excited for them. 50 years on, the legacy of 2 Māori guys that came together and thought, hey, let's put on a festival, is now, 50 years strong. So we're really, really happy.
Papatoetoe High School is the host school for the Samoan stage this year, and Principal Mr. Vaughan Kulot says he's proud of his school.
Go Papatoetoe High School on the Samoan stage, and in fact on every stage. Big day for us on diversity as well. All good. Everyone have the time of their lives.
Tomorrow, as expected at Polyfest, the diversity stage will also keep going on until Friday, and the Samoan and Tongan stage to perform on Friday and Saturday.
Emails from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade show New Zealand is deeply concerned about Cook Island's shipping registry after a Cook Islands flagged tanker was suspected of being part of Russia's shadow fleet. The emails, released under the Official Information Act, show Wellington thinks the number of sanctioned ships on the Cook Islands registry may also be increasing. New Zealand in turn has offered experts to help improve the island nation ship registry. Caleb Fotheringham has more.
On Christmas Day, Finnish authorities seized Cook Islands registered ship Eagle S, believing the vessel severed a submarine cable that carries electricity from Finland to Estonia. The vessel is thought to be linked to Russia's shadow fleet, which seeks to evade sanctions on the sale of Russian oil. RNZ Pacific requested all correspondence sent and received from the New Zealand Ministry of Foreign Affairs to Cook Islands Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Immigration regarding the ship from December 25 to January 14 of this year. A heavily redacted document was returned with emphasis saying New Zealand's existing concerns about the Cook Islands shipping registry have increased. Parts of the emails have been voiced.
As the vessel is suspected of being part of the Russian shadow fleet, we seek clarity from the Cook Islands government about its response to the incident, given the seriousness of the issue and potential consequences.
Another email says concerns go beyond just Eagle S.
Currently available data indicates an increase in the number of sanctioned vessels on its registry.
University of Waikato law professor Al Gillespie says the documents released under the OIA show rising concern by the government over the integrity of the Cook Islands shipping register. He says the Cook Islands flagging sanctioned vessels appears to not be a purposeful move.
I'm going to go with oversight and mistake at the moment. I don't think I can see a pattern, but that will depend upon more sanctioned vessels coming to light and more violations of international law.
Further emails show Eagle West in November 2024 was marked as severe in terms of non-compliance. This information was shared with the Cook Islands Government and Maritime Cook Islands, the private company in charge of the ship registry.
The seriousness of the Eagle S incident heightens our concerns about the administration, oversight and integrity of the Cook Islands Shipping Registry and the Cook Islands' compliance with its international obligations.
Wellington also says Maritime Cook Islands has been given all the information it needs to act against non-compliant vessels, including deregistering sanctioned vessels. RNZ Pacific reached out to both Maritime Cook Islands and Cook Islands government for comment, but have not been given a response. But Cook Islands Prime Minister Mark Brown has consistently maintained support for sanctions against Russia.
We're committed to aligning with international sanctions to ensure that we do not facilitate or enable blacklisted ships to be registered.
Mr Gillespie says the Cook Islands may need external help to make sure that their register is something to be proud of.
The most friendly thing that we could do is that we could offer experts to go out there and give advice. And that advice would be taken with respect and listened to deeply, because it's in no one's interest that the Cook Islands becomes known for a weak shipping registry which allows vessels of disrepute.
Eagle S was released by Finnish authorities earlier this month, but 3 remaining crew members remain in Finland for the criminal investigation.
Last week, a group of senior journalists from Tonga spent time with their colleagues in Papua New Guinea, courtesy of a scheme funded by the ABC. Among those involved was RNZ Pacific's Tonga correspondent, Kalafi Moala. Don Wiseman asked him how the contact came about.
What happened is that the ABC, together with PECMES, basically gave an invitation for Tonga media leaders, which simply means they selected several leaders from our media in Tonga to visit Papua New Guinea. When I asked what the purpose was, it was that they felt that we need to learn from each other, have a dialogue to talk about issues. And of course, we're in Tonga, we're a small country, and media is quite small in there compared with Papua New Guinea, the biggest island nation in the Pacific. Huge media organizations. But at least we went there, and I think it just went very well. I think we learned a lot from each other, despite the difference in size. Some of the issues are quite similar, common issues.
What sort of things, Kalafi, did you learn?
For example, there are media councils in all of the Pacific. And I think the Media Council of Papua New Guinea, they've had their problems with disunity, problems with different diverse thinking on how media should be operating. But we went there at the time where they had regrouped and organized themselves, and they have very strong media council organization, and they're able to include all the different media, big and small, independent and not so independent in their council. So that's one thing we learned, how we need to organize ourselves better in Tonga in terms of having a media council. It's good to have one voice. And when you're dealing with issues like press freedom, even in issues like climate change, and so it's good to have a voice that's a collective voice of media when you're speaking to Tonga, to the nation, to those in authority. So that's one thing we really learned. Another thing, major issue is this issue of women in media. When women in media concept was introduced in Tonga, the question I had was, oh wow, most of our media leaders in Tonga and most of the people working in media are women. We need more men in media. But when we went to Papua New Guinea, we saw that there was a completely different situation there in terms of the status of women that have suffered a lot of abuse, maybe like domestic violence and so on. And media development in terms of women was really needed. And so very organized, very driven, and we were pleased to see that happening.
And what do you think Tonga was able to teach Papua New Guinea?
Well, I think if there was anything that we were able to contribute was the fact that we were probably a lot more independent and a lot more freer to speak out on any issues. Yeah, I found, for example, the Papua New Guinea media, there was no dissenting voice on most things. Seems like they were organized, they flowed. The different organizations, like even with NBC, the Post Korea, the oldest newspaper there, even new organizations like the PNG, FM radio stations, they seem to have their own pathway of going. They're going very well. They don't seem to have a lot of challenges, particularly with issues like press freedom. Whereby in Tonga, I think we're a lot more vocal when we encounter difficulties. We're a lot more vocal in being able to air what we really believe in. I think that's something that they learn and they picked up.
So you would say a worthwhile exercise and one that you'd like to see repeated?
Well, yeah. I mean, of course, I kept asking ABC. It's a big expense to get 8 of us to PNG. It's a long way. We got from the other end of the Pacific to the other end, and we were well hosted. But I think we need to have more the Pacific learning from the Pacific. And we learned so much from them. And hopefully there were a lot of things that they learned from us. There could be a interaction between a Micronesian media, the team with Melanesia, with Polynesia. And I think this is a pathway to the future in which the Pacific media learn from each other. Good fellowship. Good learning, and to become a Pacific voice, to try to have a Pacific voice in the world.
Papua New Guinea is set to get its first Catholic saint. Vatican News reports Pope Francis approved the canonization of 3 new saints, including the martyred layman Blessed Peter Turot. A catechist during World War II, Blessed Peter Turot continued his pastoral work during the Japanese occupation of PNG, despite it being forbidden and missionaries were being arrested. I spoke with the Bishop of Lay Diocese in PNG, Rosario Menezes, and began by asking him why this is a big deal.
Yeah, this is, for us, it's a big deal, and for the church in Papua New Guinea, not only Papua New Guinea, but for the whole of Pacific, this is a big news and big blessing, I would say, because he's an indigenous man, Peter Turot, a layman, a catechist, who stood for his faith. He sacrificed his life, and he showed us what it means to be a real disciple of Jesus Christ, giving his own life to protect the faith that he received from the missionaries. So that's why for us here in Papua New Guinea, having a lay person as a saint is a big deal. It's a big blessing. And we are really joyful. This is coming immediately after the visit of Pope Francis. And then, so we are very proud and we are very happy as a church. And this is for certain. Certainly, this is going to boost the faith of each, not only Catholic, but also Christians here in Papua New Guinea. And this is coming to us in this year, 2025, when we celebrate the 50 years of nationhood, Papua New Guinea, the independence, and then we really look at it as big blessings from God, not only to Catholic Church but also to the whole country.
You say that it's a big deal for the Pacific. Can you confirm that he's the first saint to come from the Pacific region?
I think indigenous, yes. The local person from here, I think he's the first one. I might be wrong, but there must be other ones. But as far as I know, he is not a missionary, but he is a local person from Papua New Guinea.
You said that he was a layman, but I just want to know, what else was he known for? Where did he come from?
He is from Rabaul, one of the provinces in Papua New Guinea. He was actually trained catechist. He was helping the missionaries in catechizing, preparing the people for sacraments, and then during the war, all the missionaries, they were taken to as hostages or whatever, and then it was left to him to protect the faith, Catholic faith. And then the story is that Japanese, they were trying to convince him to practice polygamy, but he said, no, I better practice what I have, the faith that I have received from the missionaries. And then I am taught that we only marry one woman and we are asked to be faithful to her. So he truly stood by his faith, and he refused to give in to what the Japanese were trying to tell him. So that's why we consider him as a very brave Catholic, because he could really stand by his faith and say no to the wrong teachings that he was receiving, even going against his own family. To say, no, this is what we are supposed to follow, and I follow this. So that's why we consider him one of the holy saints, holy person.
So because he stood by his faith, he ended up being martyred, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Could you tell us how he died?
He was injected with the poison. I think he was sick, and the doctors came to treat him, and the story tells us that he was injected with the poison, and that's how he died.
So why has Peter Tarot been chosen for canonization? What's the process there?
See, when Pope John Paul II came to Papua New Guinea, he beatified Blessed Peter Tarot for the reason that he became a model for the catechists. Here in Papua New Guinea, you know that the church is struggling with missionaries, especially at this time that before it was all the Europeans who were coming to evangelize here in Papua New Guinea. Now the vocations to priesthood is declining in Europe, and then we have less number of priests in all the dioceses. So, and then for us, catechists are very important in our diocese. So I am the bishop of Leh, and we have very remote places where there are no priests, and then it is the catechists who keep the faith of the people alive in their villages, in the small parishes outside. So for us, it is very important. And Pope John Paul II, when he came here, he realized the importance of the catechists in the church, especially here in Papua New Guinea. And then he found a man who lived truly as a catechist. He lived his faith in a very radical way by giving his own life for the sake of the faith. I think that is the reason even Pope Francis, when he came here, listening to the testimonies, because we had a gathering with all the catechists, all the religious and priests, when he came here last September, and he addressed us. And then during the interaction with about 4 of them, they spoke about the hard life that we live here in the villages and how difficult it is to keep up the faith in this modern world. And then catechists, they play a very vital role in keeping the faith of the people, preserving the faith, I would say. So I think that is one of the reasons why the Pope Francis has chosen Blessed Peter Tarot for the cause of sainthood, so that he becomes a model for the church here in Papua New Guinea.
He sounds like a man that that was passionate about serving his community, do you think he would have been a great politician?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think he would have become a politician because, see, there is a difference between a religious man and a politician. Huh? Politics, you have to play politics. Now here at the moment in Papua New Guinea, now the parliament has been recalled for the vote of no confidence on the 8th of this month. And it's all number game. You don't worry about anything else. But as a politician, you all worry about being in politics, having the power and position and money and so. But Peter Thoroth, he was not into it. For him, his faith, his church, and what he believed was very great for him. So he stood for the principles, he stood for the virtues, and for him, God was important, not something of this world. For him, it was God. It was God because that is what the missionaries who came trained him to be. And then he lived his life according to what he believed.
That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, tō whā soifua.